Your vote 2012, and it doesn't get any better than this, with it coming down to just 8 votes between the winner and second place finisher. Hello everyone, I'm Mike Mickle. Welcome to INN News. What a finish it was. Finish many of you did not see because it happened in the middle of the night. But in the end, Mitt Romney would declare victory in the Hawkeye State with 30,015 votes, as opposed to Rick Santorum's 30,007 votes. This is out of 122,255 votes cast last night.
Thank you so much for all your help. On to New Hampshire. On to New Hampshire. Let's get that job done. Come visit us there. We got some work ahead.
Polls show Romney has a strong lead in New Hampshire ahead of next week's primary, and today he received the backing of former presidential candidate John McCain, which will help further boost his status as frontrunner. But second-place finisher Rick Santorum also has a strong presence there. He says his strong finish in Iowa shows don't underestimate him.
Thank you so much, Iowa. You, by standing up and not compromising, by standing up and being bold and leading with that burden and responsibility you have to be first. You have taken the first step of taking back this country.
Santorum's second-place finish is considered encouraging since he didn't have near the money Romney did for campaigning. For a while last night, Ron Paul was neck and neck with both Romney and Santorum, but in the end captured third place with 21.4%. Newt Gingrich got 13.3%. Rick Perry came in fifth with 10.3%. Michelle Bachmann finished last in participating candidates with 5%. Here's what the candidates had to say about their finishes.
We have tremendous opportunity to continue this momentum. It won't be long that there's going to be an election up in New Hampshire, and believe me, this momentum is going to continue, and this movement is going to continue, and we are going to keep scoring, just as we have tonight.
We are not going to go out and run nasty ads. We're not going to go out and run 30-second gotchas. We're not. But I do reserve the right to tell the truth. And if the truth seems negative, that may be more a comment on his record than it is on politics. So this is going to be a debate that begins tomorrow morning in New Hampshire and will go on for a few months. And I'm convinced that
you've made every minute of this worth it for ourselves, and with a little prayer and reflection, I'm going to decide the best path forward. But I want to tell you, there has been no greater joy in my life than to be able to share with the people of Iowa and of this country that there is a model to take this country forward, and it is in the great state of Texas. God bless you. Thank you all.
I'm a proven, time-tested conservative. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in the blessings that God has given to America. I believe in standing for the protection of human life from conception until natural death. I believe in the traditional definition of marriage as one man, one woman.
As a result of her poor finish, Bachmann suspended her campaign today. As for Perry, he's heading back to Texas, but will resume campaigning in South Carolina. Gingrich and Paul are definitely staying in. They're looking ahead to New Hampshire. That's where fellow candidate Jon Huntsman's been this whole time. He skipped Iowa, only received 745 votes. He's seen here visiting a charter school in the Granite State yesterday. The former Utah governor was there to help hand out iPads the school recently bought. Despite his efforts in New Hampshire, many analysts say he has a tough fight ahead. Right now, Mitt Romney has 47% support there. Ron Paul is a distant second. Again, the next contest is in New Hampshire. That's January 10th, next Tuesday. That could garner interesting results because independents will be allowed to vote in the primary. South Carolina's next on the docket after that on January 21st, followed by Florida on January 31st. A busy month in politics. You can be sure INN will keep you up to date on all the happenings. Again, as we clearly showed you, every vote can count when it comes to an election. Just 8 separated Romney and Santorum. But listen to this. Herman Cain wasn't even on the ballot, and 58 people voted for him. Had this not been allowed, any of those votes could have easily changed the outcome of this contest. One thing candidates have learned, money can't buy you Iowa. Rick Perry spent the most on TV ads, $4 million. He only got about 10% of that vote. That's $350 per vote. Rick Santorum spent $30,000 and won about 30,000 votes. That's just $1 a vote. Well, the focus may have been on the Republican presidential contest in the Iowa caucuses last night, but there was also a Democratic contest as well. President Obama took the opportunity to rally supporters at the Democratic caucus sites through a live, interactive video teleconference from Washington.
Across the board, you have made a difference. But we all know we've got a lot more work that we have to do. Although we've passed health care reform, we've passed Wall Street reform, there are a lot of forces that want to push back against it and want to undo some of those changes. And we're battling millions of dollars of negative advertising and lobbyists and special interests who don't want to see the change that you worked so hard to fully take root.
President Obama also told caucus goers he's more optimistic now than he was 4 years ago because change has already taken place. He gave examples of his health care plan and of troops returning home. We turn our attention overseas now with who's being blamed for a pipeline attack, plus who's really feeling the heat and who's not. Here's your Global News Now. Syrian officials are blaming opposition activists for an attack on a gas pipeline yesterday. Meanwhile, activists claim the government blew up the pipeline itself to distract Arab League monitors. The monitors are in the country to protect civilians from violence at the hands of government security forces. The flooding situation is improving in southern Thailand, but hundreds of thousands remain affected by the damage left behind. 14 of 21 districts have been declared disaster areas. Some areas are still surrounded by water, and rescue crews are boating in food and supplies to them. Parts of Australia are dealing with quite a heat wave, Sydney reaching nearly 100 degrees yesterday. That's expected to spark some storms there today and finally bring some relief down under. On the flip side, parts of eastern Canada are shivering under a blanket of frosty Arctic air as the first harsh weather of the winter moves into that region. Toronto is under a cold weather alert with temperatures plunging to near zero. That's prompted city leaders to open up extra shelter spaces for the homeless. And that's your Global News Now. And it's not Canada, but feels like it. The Deep South is in a deep freeze. Parts of Florida dropped to below 20 degrees overnight. That had citrus farmers working all night, spraying warm water underneath the trees. That helps create a fogging action to raise the temperature inside the orange. George Solis from our Gainesville affiliate GTN looks at what else is being affected by the cold.
On a day like today, a visit to the butterfly rainforest at the University of Florida could prove to be depressing.
Generally, this exhibit is awash with fireflies flying about.
Clearly not the case right now. There are hundreds, all of them barely showing signs of life. But there's a good reason why.
Their threshold for flight is about 60 degrees or so. So the cooler it gets and the further away from that we get, the less active they become.
Which means they could be inactive for a few more days, as the National Weather Service is predicting lows down to the 20s for this week. When it comes to cold weather, it's all about the 4 Ps: people, plants, pets, and pipes. Experts here at the Home Depot say you may know the basics of protecting them from the cold weather, but there are some things you may not.
Typically tomorrow the customer is coming in with broken pipes, whether it's a faucet, hose bib, and they have to replace that in the wall.
One simple solution Home Depot experts suggest is protecting it with a faucet cover at about a $2 investment.
You just slide this over the hose bib itself. And once you slide that over, and you don't have to slide the whole way over, but just enough to catch it.
As far as the outdoors, there are several plants you don't have to do much for.
This is Dianthus. This is the Florida carnation. You do not have to cover these either. This is very cold hardy.
Gardening experts say for those you do cover, there are some rules to follow. In most cases, they recommend blankets designed for vegetation, but when they're all sold out, like in this case, there are alternatives.
The tarp is better, but I always recommend to put like a something so that the tarp doesn't hit the flower.
Weather Service officials say the cold weather should be gone by the weekend. George Solis reporting for INN News.
Well, would you like some coffee with that cold weather? It's going to cost you. Who's raising their prices? And a mouse in your pop? No way, not possible. You'll hear Pepsi's defense. Plus, this is not the face of a millionaire, but it is the face of someone trying to pass himself off as one with just one bill. You have to stick around for this one. Next on INN.